Welcome back. Today a very special review. It's a hardware review of course the Psp Go. So let's start. So of course we're going to start where the Psp Go is packed in this little box. It's an extremely little box compared to the more longer box than the Psp 2 and 3000. I have the white version and it comes with the cable and some hand manuals that are totally, I don't give a shit. Then of course you have the power cable, and that is pretty much the biggest and best improvement on the Psp power cord, because it is USB. So you can just plug it in your PS3 or in your PC with Media Go, and then you can upload and download and buy new games and themes and music and more. But if you want to power up your console for the power, then hups, they're in. So it's pretty awesome. But of course no one will give a shit about those things. It's all about the Psp Go itself. This is, well, like I said, the white version. It's really small. This is the old Psp. It's the 2000 series. Oh, I had it up. Okay. So this is incredible small, much lighter. So like I told you, it is a much smaller design, incredible small indeed, much lighter, much more compact. Like for the people who like to use, a game, wants to play a game, wants to hear music, this is most probably a little bit better than the old Psp versions. But of course you also have to like downloads, because this is download only. No UMD drive, nothing. You have everything you have to download from the PlayStation Store. That's of course one of the biggest side downs for this console, because now Sony has the complete right for the pricing. So mostly games that are like 4 or 5 years old are still 20 to 13 euros. So that is basically fucked up. But hey, for the Psp Go, of course we have the minis. It's also for the PlayStation Portable, the old series. They're only like 3 euros, 5 euros, maximum 5 euros I even heard. So that is basically what this machine for me is going to do. Is going to play all the old PlayStation 1 games and the minis, and just for the big UMD games like ModeStorm, Gran Turismo, I have the old version of the Psp for. So on to the hardware review. The materials used for the Psp Go are way better than the new versions of the Psp. That is the Psp Slim and Light 2000 and 3000 versions. If you have one, you know what I'm talking about. It feels really cheap. It's not a bad machine, but it just feels, the plastic and stuff, it all feels not very sturdy. Just a cheap, they're cheap. But this, however, is just like the Psp Fat, really sturdy. The materials are really good. It's metal mounted on the back side for the shifting, of course. It's screwed together with a lot of screws compared to the only 2 in here, even 1 I see. So it just feels way more sturdy. It feels way better than the really cheap design of the Psp Slim and Light 2000 3000. Again, the Psp Fat is also very sturdy in hand, but it's just really heavy. So when I first saw the leaked pictures of the Psp Go, I was like, the design is much different than the old Psp versions, and I didn't like it, but now I have it in my hands. It's a really modern, slick version. It looks incredible cool, even when you do it like this. It looks like an iPhone here. Ooh, iPhone sucks. But it's just an awesome design for the Psp itself. Also, the shoulder buttons are here. I can show it better here. Here are the shoulder buttons, but they are like, the only thing that is not sturdy about the console is this. This is just cheaply made. You can even do it like this. So I think that in this year, the next year, many people will complain that the shoulder buttons will break off and stuff. That's what I think. Maybe not, but I think it. I have no real details about it, but I think that the screen of the PSP is much more brighter. Of course, you can say like, duh, it's much more smaller. So pretty much games will look a little bit better on the Psp Go because of the smaller screen. But of course, if you like bigger screens, then it's a letdown that the screen is much smaller than the old version of the PSP. Well, that is basically it for the hardware review. Compared to the hardware, the software is just exactly the same as the old PSP versions. There is no significant change in the software. It's still the cross media bar, it's still this with the game and stuff. You can now download everything, so no EMD drive. You can also add another memory stick right here. It's an M2, it's a micro 2 stick, so it's not the really small ones, but the memory stick doesn't fit the Psp Go. That is also a letdown, because if you want to update your firmware and you don't have Wi-Fi, you have to buy a memory stick for it. So for everybody who has the question or are considering to buying a Psp Go but already has a Psp Slim and Lite or a Psp Fat, then you should reconsider what do you want to do with your PSP. If you're a consumer and you're like, I don't want to download everything, I only want to download little mini games like PlayStation 1 Classics and the minis, then you should buy the Psp Go if you want a smaller console. But if you're the consumer who likes to have UMD games, who likes to have boxes, then you should really reconsider to buy a Psp Go, because there is no UMD drive, so you can't do shit with the console but downloading. And for the consumers that don't have a PSP whatsoever, also reconsider, do you want to download everything? Do you want a really small console that fits easily in your pocket? Or you want a little heavier, a little bigger PSP but with cases and UMD drives? Then of course you should go for the Psp Slim. But if you want to download everything, you should go to the Psp Go. Also mentioning is that every downloadable game can also be played on the Fat PSP and the Psp Slim and Lite. So every PlayStation 1 game, every downloadable game, every minis can also be played on this console and not only on the Psp Go. There doesn't exist a Psp Go only game. So I hope you liked this review and I see you next time. So like I told you, the Psp Go is much lighter, much smaller, much compact than the other PSP versions. Stupid dogs. But now of course onto the hardware. I fucking hate the dog.